Hey everybody, my name is Raj Vable. I'm the founder of Young Mountain Tea, and we're coming to you live from our living room where we are kicking off a series of videos that are intended to help you develop your at-home tea practice. And we're going to do that using a drink that was introduced to me by my grandmother's neighbor when I was sick, using a white tea from northern India, from the Kumaon region, that you can learn more about on our website, and then the magical powers of ginger. This is a drink that she prescribed to me when I was having a sore throat, and that I have since sort of incorporated into my morning routine. And while for the majority of the day I just like to drink our teas with nothing added, as they're intended to be consumed, sometimes I find that in the mornings, the acidity of tea can be a little bit much for my system. And so using ginger's incredible power to help stimulate our metabolisms and get things going, we layer the ginger water with white tea to make an incredible drink. And that's what we're going to be covering in the next couple minutes. Here we go. Today we're going to be using tea from the 2019 harvest. And again, traditionally we would make it here just using our kettle, infusing the tea, and then drinking it. But because we want to jazz it up a little bit, we're going to take out the tea tray and substitute in a cutting board. So, we start with ginger. We always use organic ginger because being a root, if it's been in any areas that have any pesticides sprayed, those often leach down into the ginger itself. So definitely choose organic. For this, we're gonna make 4 cups of white tea. And so to do that, we'll start by cutting off a piece of ginger. I like to leave the skin on the ginger, but if you want to, you can peel it first. And what we do is first start by just cutting just about an inch. This is a fairly fat piece of ginger, but 1 inch will do, and it doesn't need to be anything fancy, just a rough cut to get it into pieces that have a lot of surface area, so that when it's being boiled in water, everything that's in the ginger comes out. I love ginger because not only does it clear up your throat, it helps with digestion, it helps with any motion sickness, and I found that starting the day with just ginger boiled in hot water has the incredible power to just ground me in my senses. And so that's what is a starting point for this, is just nothing but some sliced up ginger. Starting in the kitchen, and just take our pot and 4 cups of water. So if we were making 4 cups, that's all we would use. But because we're anticipating that some of this water is going to boil off, we'll put in a little bit extra. So I'll add another ½ cup. That's going to evaporate as the water boils. All right, then to your stove. In we go. And we're off. So I guess the point here is that what we're doing is using cold water initially, right? We're gonna boil the water and the ginger together. It's not waiting for the water to boil and then adding the ginger. And that's because ginger being such a strong fibrous root, you really need as much time to blast all the juices out of it as you can. So starting right from the beginning, putting in the ginger and letting it come up is a great way to do it. I'm gonna put the lid on too. And for today, all we're going to do is just bring it to a boil and then use that water for our tea. However, what you could do is, if you really want to get the most out of the ginger, is bring it up to boil and leave it at boil for say 10-15 minutes before cutting the heat. So that's that. We'll just let this boil and then be back shortly. So we're back, and we've got a full boil. You can see the steam coming off, which is great for getting the juices out of the ginger and into the water, but not ideal for actually steeping the tea because it's way too hot for white tea. So I'm going to just cut the heat, bring this down off, and let it cool off. And we'll let this sit for a good 5 to 10 minutes, which will give us the temperature of the water enough time to drop down from about 212, which is boiling, down to about 170, which is the temperature that we want to steep the white tea at. Okay, we're back at the tea table, and while the ginger is cooling off, the ginger water is cooling off, we're going to just prep the white tea to get made. So we're going to use this porcelain teapot. It's a 4Life stump teapot. It's one of my favorites because what 4Life really does an exceptional job at doing is making sure that the infusing basket is the right size for the teapot. A lot of times with whole leaf teas, the best flavors are going to come out once the leaf has enough time to fully expand and open up. And a lot of times that ratio between the infusing basket and the and the teapot needs to be just right. So because this is a nice big basket relative to the size of the teapot, it's an ideal one for making tea. And for the white tea, I think in our blog post we'll actually specify the exact amount, but I just honestly eyeball it. Take our little tea shovel and just put some tea in. Generally, with white tea, a little bit goes a long way. However, because this is going to be used with water that has ginger, which is a very strong flavor, I put a little bit more than I would use for normal tea. So I'd guess that because this is, I think it's an 18-ounce pot, where we would use about somewhere between 4 and 5 grams of tea, we would use on the upper edge of that. So a little bit more than you would make for just making the tea by itself. And there we go. So again, we'll put the actual numbers so you have a stronger reference point for making it. But the fun thing about tea is it's all trial and error. It's all what you like. And so really play around with it and figure out what works for you. So here's the tea that we have. Now we'll go get the ginger water, which is cooling off. Okay, we're back, and now the ginger water is here. It's been cooled off a little bit. We got impatient and didn't want to wait for the full 5 to 10 minutes, so we just added a splash of cold water, which is a good way to bring the temperature down. It also is a good way that if you're finding the ginger water you're making is too spicy, a good way to dilute it a little bit. So yeah, we have this water, which is about 170 degrees right now. We're going to just make the magic happen. So adding the ginger water into the tea. And I'm not really even going to strain out the pieces of ginger, just let them sit in there because I like ginger. So if it ends up in the leaf, that's fine as well. All right, we've been steeping the tea for 3 minutes now, so we are ready to drink. So what we're going to do is just take our tea leaf out. This still has at least 1 solid steep in it, so I don't want to let the bottom of the basket get all gross. So I'm putting it in a clean cup and just letting it sit there. And then Brian and I are going to enjoy this wonderful elixir. The one thing that's kind of interesting about adding the ginger to this is that it makes the infusion a lot darker than it otherwise would be from just the white tea. So it's got a pale yellow tint to it and some wonderful aromas. You get the spiciness and the sweetness from the ginger, and it's complemented by this very floral light brightness of the white tea, and together it makes what I think is a real cup of magic. So cheers.